Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where the topic is Kickstart Your Microsoft PPM Deployment using Power Apps and Project for the Web using OnePlan. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleagues Jim Patterson and Paul Estabrooks. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit any questions that you may have. I will address these during the webinar and will respond via email if we do not get to your specific question. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I will be emailing a link to the presentation once it has been posted on our YouTube channel. I will now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert. Welcome, everybody. We're excited to present to you on this topic, which is a follow-on to the webinar we did last week regarding the Ppm Accelerator. So let's continue on Kickstart Your Microsoft PPM Deployment using Power Apps and Project for the Web using OnePlan. So we talked about how Microsoft's reimagining project, and it is built, and this Project for the Web is built on the Power Platform. Some of the key underpinnings of the Power Platform we talked about is Power BI, which many people are using today for reporting and analytics. Power Automate, which people are using for workflow automation and connection of data between tool sets. And then there's Power Apps, the low-code, no-code platform that allows people to fashion solutions as they see fit in a powerful platform with all data being stored in a robust database repository in the back end called Dataverse. Now, we talked last week about how Project for the Web is built on this platform and stores all its data by default in Dataverse and allows us to do many things with it, as we'll talk about in a second. We also talked about the fact that different people are at different stages of their evolution in project and portfolio management maturity. So if we think about this from a crawl, walk, and run perspective, we talked about crawl being just using Project for the Web as a scheduling tool and letting the data store within that repository and maybe having some Power BI reports against it. The walk we talked about with the Ppm Accelerator, and run we're going to actually be focusing on today. And what we mean by that is with all your project data from Project for the Web being stored in Dataverse, meaning without you doing anything, it's actually storing all that data in this robust data repository instead of saving it in individual files around the organization. It allows us to use Power Apps for solutions. So by having that data all in that database, we're allowed to use the Power Apps capabilities to, originally was fashion our own solutions, put in entities that allow us to capture other project and portfolio management related data. Now, what we have now is Microsoft has released, and we're proud to say that OnePlan Solutions, our company, was instrumental in developing this accelerator for Microsoft. And this Project Accelerator, sometimes known as the Ppm Accelerator or the Project App, sometimes those terms are used interchangeably, provides an extension for additional project and portfolio management solution capabilities, extending the capabilities of Project for the Web by itself, adding things like project requests and programs and multiple projects in a portfolio list and resources and reporting. The difference here is that we now have a Microsoft provided pre-built solution, so people don't have to build their own Power App. There's a solid foundation that everyone can start with to then build their PPM solution on. Now, what's in that? Well, in this pre-configured solution adds to just the projects and project request tasks, the project tasks that you built in Project for the Web, which is in the green. In the purple, in the Power Apps area, it adds things like entities for project requests and intake so that you can have a funnel that you can promote to projects later on. Programs that you can actually have logical aggregations of projects into larger programs. The ability to have things like issues and risks and change requests, narrative-based status reports and status reports incrementally over time, and other capabilities like adding KPIs and some governance measures. All still having reports and dashboards in Power BI, but some additional reporting that's now available because there's more data available, meaning we have things like the requests and the programs and the issues and risks to report on, which we didn't have before if we just used Project for the Web as a web-based app. So demand management, be able to have that capability in the tool and corresponding reporting. Program management that allows us to aggregate multiple projects into program level aggregate views. Project management, which we talked about using Project for the Web in here. And it's Project for the Web is what is supported by this accelerator natively. And you can use it in a regular list view or what we call a grid view, more of a Kanban board as a traditional Gantt chart or timeline view. Have a risk register that allows you to have risk reporting and actually have it translate into things like risk matrices. Issue management, the same thing, being able to look at all your issues across all your projects. Change management, the same concept here for change requests. Narrative-based status reports that you can actually save different status reports over time and capture that that information chronologically and be able to look at things like trends. Project intelligence, meaning an accelerator report pack that is further extended when you use the accelerator, such that you get reporting on a lot of different aspects of this, including requests, which doesn't exist if you're just building schedules only within Project for the Web. So that's where we get into the meat of today's webinar. The Gartner Group talks about critical capabilities or capabilities that many people desire to have in a project portfolio management system. And today we're going to focus on these things in the blue, and we're going to have talk about how OnePlan and OnePlan solutions can extend this accelerator to provide this capability for you in the areas of things like time management, financial management, resource capacity planning, and the different dimensions of project and portfolio management. So if we want to move this into a run phase and get beyond just what was in the Project Accelerator, if we look at the building blocks on the side, we see we've added some blue over there. And that blue could include things like strategy and strategy execution, and be able to identify those things, what the organization is striving for, and then have portfolio or portfolios that allow us to align ourselves with our strategies and making sure that the portfolios and programs and projects and initiatives that we have are actually contributing to the strategies with that alignment. And then prioritization and what if scenarios and detailed financial tracking and planning. Also with resource capacity and being able to look at what our assumptions are going in and then how we're actually spending our resources. Those things are all available to us with OnePlan to extend this accelerator to add these capabilities seamlessly. What's nice is that as OnePlan Solutions was instrumental in building the accelerator, we were also instrumental in being able to make sure that OnePlan can extend these things seamlessly by being able to add it very routinely into the accelerator and add those capabilities, as Paul will be showing you a little later on today. Also, OnePlan adds things for the actual resources or the workers on these projects to be able to have a My Work area or a timesheet capability in there that's not in the accelerator in and of itself. So OnePlan connects also to other tool sets to achieve what's really the vision of adaptive PPM. So if we look at the building blocks of what's provided with the combination of OnePlan and Power Apps and Project for the Web, including adding things like My Works and timesheets, the other dimension of that is instead of just using Project for the Web as the scheduling tool, OnePlan allows us to connect to other execution tools like Microsoft Project Professional, which many people still want to use. Project for the Web is obviously included, but what about agile projects or things like Azure DevOps and Jira, et cetera? Being able to use those tools to feed into these portfolios of projects and into the mix of the overall solution to truly make it an adaptive PPM solution. So that's where OnePlan comes in. What is OnePlan? Well, it provides pre-configured adaptive PPM in the Microsoft cloud. It really allows you to have the execution tools you want feeding into the portfolio management capabilities that we're going to demonstrate to you today, essentially connecting strategy all the way down to the execution level and also letting the actual practitioners be able to work the way they want in the tools they want to use. So what OnePlan brings to the mix is some additional portfolio level capabilities like portfolio planning, traditional portfolio views with KPIs like you see in the upper middle, or maybe looking at your portfolio in a Kanban board for your more agile teams, or maybe roadmaps if you're in a more product oriented or want to communicate the portfolio to folks in a more roadmap type of view, as well as the resource capacity planning, the detailed financial planning, and other aspects around that. Now, we roll up all the execution stuff, maybe even have consistent automated project status reporting that comes out or gets really spit out of the system without you having to compile these and create them every reporting period, but using the different tool sets contributing to this that makes sense for you as an organization. On top of that, the timesheets and having a user be able to have insights using increasing AI capabilities to say what requires our attention. What is going off track? What should we be looking at? What are the things that are of most interest to me? And on top of that, we talked about strategy, and OnePlan allows you to layer on top of all this, not only strategic alignment, where we can align our initiatives and our projects with strategy, but also to be able to build a strategic portfolio such that we can manage our objectives and the tangible key results to indicate to us whether or not we're achieving those stated objectives as we're moving on through. And when we talk about integration, we're not talking about the traditional idea of people fashioning their own custom code and one-off integrations that they have to stay on top of. It's getting increasingly more difficult to do so with the rapid changing cloud world of cloud tools, as tools change quickly and even the APIs change on a fairly regular basis. Having productized connectors gets the customer out of the business of managing those integrations and letting the vendor, aka here OnePlan, manage those for you. And that could be in areas of software development or agile tools, financial ERP type of systems, different work management tools, service management tools, professional services tools or CRM type of tools, etc. And have those connectors feed in so that you can work the way you want and get the data from the tools that you need or the sources that you need. The other aspect of OnePlan in this mix is we're going to show it to you today built in and being leveraged in Power Apps within the actual accelerator itself, which could even further be extended should you have additional needs. It also, because OnePlan is built in the Microsoft Cloud for Microsoft 365, you can also surface or use OnePlan in Dynamics, or you could use it within Azure DevOps, or you could use it even within Teams, which many people are using, and a lot of you Microsoft folks out there today are already using Teams to a great extent. The key is stay working in the tools that you work in every day and access the OnePlan capabilities within there. But today our focus is going to be doing this within Power Apps. So Paul's going to be showing you, I'm not going to belabor this because he's going to go into detail on this, but these will be slides that you'll get that'll have leave behinds. You get portfolio visibility across all work, and that includes plans that come from a variety of different planning and scheduling tools that you see over here on the left. Being able to do portfolio prioritization and use the methods that you like to value and score projects. Portfolio Kanban boards for people that want to do portfolio management in a more agile fashion or lean fashion using, say, PI planning type of techniques. Portfolio tree hierarchies if we want to build our portfolio into like a portfolio program project type of hierarchy, we can do that as well. Resource capacity planning, having a consistent resource capacity planning method across all projects, regardless of what execution tool is being used to do detailed work items. And then being able to do resource negotiations between project managers and resource managers. Also be able to do resource prioritization and use the resource capacity information to select an optimum portfolio and to reconcile the portfolio of projects that we have with the resources we have at hand. Same thing with financials. We can do detailed financial planning. We can do financial prioritization, meaning look at the resource or financial or budgetary constraints we have and see if the portfolio we have is doable and reconcile that portfolio with our ability to apply dollars to that. Strategy is in the mix as well, as I discussed prior. And the insights, to be able to have a more AI-based type of insights so users can see what requires their attention. The My Work, a central place where one resource can actually go in and see everything that's been assigned to them across all projects and initiatives and be able to status them and provide feedback to their project managers from one place. As well as if you have the need to capture time in a timesheet area, same concept where a user has one place to go for all projects and get that feedback of that time entered into the system. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Paul Estabrooks, who'll give you a demonstration and show you this stuff live. So Paul, it's all yours.
So I'm going to just recap the accelerator quickly, just to sort of create that frame of reference so that we know where we're going from here. So right now we are in the accelerator environment. You'll see the menu items down the left are what comes out of the box in the accelerator, the things that Jim summarized a little bit earlier. We have our project request capability, where we can capture information here about new ideas, use a flow or an Power Automate to then create a project and assign it to a program and whatnot. We have our ability here to define our programs and information about them. And we have our projects area. where we can manage our different projects, update different information. I'm not going to dive into this in a lot of detail, but just to kind of give sort of the frame of reference here, we have a quick project here. This one is managed in the Accelerator. It has all the core capabilities. I've demoed this in the past, where you would capture that information. You'd have your information related to your business case, your tasks, your schedule itself would be project for the web. And that's what's loading up right here. It's my little project schedule that I'm managing with my various resources assigned to it. My risks, we have a risk in here, facility availability. We have an issue related to COVID restrictions. We may have a change request, and then we may need to generate a status report. All the core capabilities that you saw in those screenshots that Jim covered and that are available out of the box in the Accelerator. They can be configured to sort of fit your specific requirements and go from there and build this out how you see fit. Okay, so that's the Accelerator. Now what we've done with OnePlan when we talk about extending this and adding that additional capability, I come down here and you'll see change area. And I'm going to jump into the OnePlan one. And when I do, you'll see a bunch of new information or new options have appeared. My work, my timesheet are now available, as we said in some of the slides that Jim just covered. So now we're able to surface the various things that resources might be assigned to and give people a place to come in and say, here's what I am working on, here's what I've got done, here's what I'm doing next. So it's just going to load up the my work page, loading for me. Timesheets works the same, so I can come in and fill out where I am on these different projects, what's due, and so forth, and group by different categories. All this rich information. So this is everything that the character I'm logged in as has assigned to them. Now, if I come down just to projects, I want to spend a bit of time, and I'm going to use a different project to show you sort of some of the additional capabilities. So if I jump into, you like to use this project, you'll see there's now additional tabs. And this is that extension of what the Accelerator does out of the box to provide those other rich capabilities that many PMOs are looking for. So in addition to capturing that initial summary information and whatnot, which now has additional data, and the business case, the same as it was before with the various information, we now have this ability to capture financials. To be able to capture financial information about this project, this is going to load up into the budgets page. There it is. We have a set of cost categories and a cost breakdown structure and expense types, and we're now able to time phase the budget for the project. We could then pivot that around and say, maybe I want to do forecasts for this particular project. Maybe I want to compare that forecast to the budget and look at where we have differences. Okay, so I'm just looking here at some of those months. Our budget was, in this case, just on the end of the screen, 7,000. Our forecast is actually a little below that. So either money's coming in a little bit late or the project's getting off to a bit of a slow start. There could be a variety of reasons as to why. We may also want to capture actuals or benefits or other type formats of tabular data about financial information that we need to know about this project and that we want to track. So we have that rich, deep data here that we can use. Next is resources. And here, regardless of whether or not you're using Project for the Web as your tool, or if you want to use other tools and you want to incorporate them, and that's the integration that Jim talked about, and I'm going to show that in a different environment here in a couple of minutes. But here I can now articulate what resources I have on this particular project. What are my resource demands? The commitment here, think of it as demand. I need Daniel Williams on this project in March and April, a couple of months off, and then back on the project fairly heavy. But when we look at that, it's highlighted as red because we know that there's other commitments out there that Daniel's working on, and I'll show you where you can find that data, where we can now understand that I need this commitment, but there's other commitments that are competing with this. And so from a resource perspective, A, as the PM, I now know that there's a conflict there and I might want to work on resolving it, potentially request someone to replace Daniel who can fill the same role, or work with the resource manager and potentially other PMs to sort of figure out how we're going to schedule and organize this work so that we don't have these over allocations. So compared to capacity, regardless of schedule tool, looking at it at sort of at a management level of hours per month, you can flip hours if you want to other dimensions. I kind of like to demo it in hours, because that's the way most people think. You have different frames here. So it gives the PM the ability to articulate that demand. Then they can draw in from a schedule or from timesheets what actually occurred on that particular project and pull some data in. So here's what really happened. Here's what we've scheduled. Then we could look at what timesheet hours are to see what was actually occurred. So start to look at, here's what I asked for initially. When I built out my detailed schedule, it became this. Some time shifted around. As the schedule evolved, things would move based on the progress of the project. And then there's the actuals flowing in this case, potentially from timesheets or from my work, to tell me what's really happening and what the impact is on both the schedule and the original commitment and budgets that I created for both the resources and the finance. So much richer data and much richer information than what the accelerator provides. It extends it to that next level. Tasks, risks, issues, this is all the same content we're using that's in the accelerator and advancing this, and adding additional capability over on top of and in conjunction with. If I jump over to the analyzer, so here's where we can do some of that portfolio modeling that Jim talked about in his slides. So I've got a view here created. We have a bunch of different views we could pick from, and you can create many more. I'm looking at my programs. I can drill into a program and see underneath it the various projects. I can click in and do additional detail. This particular demo environment, everything's connected to Project for the Web. I'll show you one that's different in a few minutes. But I may want to sort of do that hierarchical drill down here. We have program and project, and we have other levels in some cases. And now if I want to pivot this over to project prioritization. So I'm going to look at this a little bit differently. Now I'm just looking at a flat structure of all the projects. And here's how they would have filled out some of that initial prioritization information, which would have been captured up here in the original project request and potentially refined during the business case development. That's a business process question as to where that is captured. So some of that data would come from functionality that's based in the accelerator, and then now we're consuming it and using it here to do some prioritization. I can click on this little menu icon here and start to look at how I might move projects up and down based on how they're scoring. Because there is a score over here that we might be ranking on, but I can start to move projects up and down based on opinion, priority, business criticality, whatever the reasons may be. I have that ability to stack rank and move projects. But now I want to leverage the data we just captured using the financial module and the resource module and try and make some more in-depth decisions here. So I click on this little icon of money. I'm now looking at the budgets of how each of these projects and where that money spells out. So that is coming directly from that finance tab that I looked at a few minutes ago. We've set a little target in here. So for our budget for FY21, we flatlined it just at $300,000 a month. And you can see some months were okay, some months were very much not. And we could start to look at now, which projects should we move forward with? Maybe I want to take out this one. Maybe I want to stop one that's in flight. And you'll see down below, it is continuing to recalculate. I'm not going to go through trying to solve the whole problem, but you'll see as I do that, the colors are changing. I'm getting a lot closer. In fact, total, I'm actually under. So I may want to revisit my budget being flatline, or I may want to come up here and look at potentially taking a project and moving that project around and moving it out and saying, what if I move that? That one didn't move. What if I move that project like that? Does that impact my budget moving money? I didn't change the total, but I've now changed when and where the money should occur based on a shift in that particular schedule to see if that doesn't sort of take advantage of some of the green months over here and move us away from the problem area. And I could continue to move that around. And when I'm done, I save it. Save scenario. Say, that's today's, we're looking at V1 of the budget, so this is V1 of the model maybe, and we would continue in that way. What we could also do is pivot this in a different way. And now what we're going to take is that resource data from the resource tab that we did, those commitments, and say, well, if we try and do all the projects that are currently checked off, we have a number of resource constraints, Daniel being one of them, Sophia being another. And once again, what if I look at moving some projects around and see how that might move my stuff that's already in place. I have to be careful which ones I move. So I can move these and see which is going to help me make changes to my resource pool. There we go. And by doing that, I've potentially moved this particular issue or these resources to a different month. So I'm going to include that in my model and see what happens when I do that. So now it's going to recalculate. So again, I'm trying to balance my my portfolio, in this case by resource commitments. I can move projects in or out in terms of including them or change their dates and see the impact it has on the resource pool. So a combination of doing prioritization based on money and then based on resources, and looking at how we balance that with what we're trying to accomplish based on the stack rank priority that we have, and full visibility to all of that. Very rich capability using the data that we're capturing. Maybe I want to look at this in terms of boards, and Jim showed this in one of his slides as well. So I want to take a different approach. I'm going to do goals by program, and here I've got a backlog of items, and I can start to drop those into where they belong in my programs, and I can do my prioritization using kind of a Kanban type approach or program increments. So a very different model, but supported here as well. Depending on how you want to organize and manage your organization, you can start to look at what works and use this model instead of the more conventional prioritization we just did on the previous screen. The tool also has this capability of roadmaps, where I can visualize the various projects we have. Right now, I'm looking at it by business unit, which is sort of a classic sense. I've seen the overall health, which is color-coded, and where things align. You can see the shading in the bars shows progress on that project versus what's left. So we're starting to get a very quick visualization of where everything is by department. You can pivot that to be by program. You can pivot it to be by a number of different ways of looking at it. But it's, again, another way to consume the information and better understand our overall portfolio. I mentioned about resource plans and how a resource manager may view. So we've layered into this solution this additional capability where I can now see in the resource plan all those different commitments. Remember, we had Daniel was quite over allocated, and you can see there's some massive over allocations here. So we can now come in and start to understand what are the different projects that are demanding Daniel's time, and how are we going to try and resolve that. We can look at saying, well, what if we had to replace that resource, and look at replacing resources and who else can fit that role, and drill through this information. But we're consolidating it all here for a resource manager to make these decisions, to move things around, to discuss options with information, with data to back up the decisions they're making, and try and optimize the resource pool and continue to react to the various changes that are occurring in each and every project. Lastly, in our reports module, and I'll load up Power BI here quickly, we're surfacing a wealth of data. The accelerator itself has report packs that come with it. When you add in OnePlan, we add yet more reporting packs and reporting options, leveraging this additional data, request dashboards, program health, and on portfolio financials, all kinds of different information that we are surfacing here as part of the rich data that we're capturing and managing in this overarching PPM solution. Before I wrap, I wanted to show one other thing. I'm just going to jump to a different environment. This is another environment. This one's also in Power Apps. Some additional data. So this is built out even further. Now you're seeing on the screen my insights. Jim mentioned that in one of the slides. This is the insights capability. It's lit up here inside Power Apps. There's the corporate strategy where we can articulate objectives and key results. Additional demand management capability around challenges and ideas to go along with the request module that we had over in the accelerator. Timesheets, dashboards, all kinds of rich information. And I show this not to drill into it in any great detail, but I did want to drill into one thing while I'm talking. If I go into this analyzer, you're going to see a deeper set of hierarchy, and I want to show you the different types of projects and different types of scheduling tools all coming to life. This is where you would have seen this in that screenshot. So we have this one's Project Pro. This one has Teams and Project Pro. Here's one that has Planner and Teams, DevOps, and so forth. This is bringing all those different scheduling tools together inside Power Apps for us to do that all up, resource planning, financial tracking, status reporting, time sheeting, and other things, regardless of the scheduling tool. So I want to draw your attention to that. But the other reason I kind of wanted to end here was this is the Microsoft promise and the whole vision they have around Power Apps. Is we start with Project for the Web as sort of that core centerpiece and the Dataverse and everything that Jim talked about. And the accelerator gives you that jump start to get going. But it also opens up a whole host of options and ideas for you. You could create a demand management solution using Power Apps. You could create something to do really rich, deep benefits tracking and ongoing tracking. You want to track all kinds of different things that you may need to do that's part of your business that touch and are part of project delivery, but they're unique to your organization. That's the promise of the Power Platform. And you're seeing some of that here, where we've added all kinds of rich capabilities that we have built out in parts of our solution and leverage them here in the left as there's some different Power Apps. It's there as an example of the kinds of things that you can do using this platform with OnePlan and Project for the Web and these other pieces as the backbone, but now tying into all those other business problems and challenges you have and bringing those here and leveraging the Power Platform to address them. So Jim, with that, I'll wrap up the demo and you can take over again.
All right, well, thank you, Paul. Appreciate the great demo there. Folks, very generalized demo. We're happy to conduct personalized demos for you to address your specific use cases. So let's summarize and then talk about some potential next steps you might have. We talk about this as, something that's new, but, in the Microsoft landscape, you may already own the licenses that give you access to a number of these things here today. If you own a Microsoft project, Plan 1, Plan 3, or Plan 5, there's capabilities that you get with this. Plan 1 is strictly just Project for the Web, and Plan 3 is your traditional project professional, and Plan 5 is kind of that extended advanced capabilities that people have been using in Project Online for advanced portfolio and resource capacity planning. You may own these licenses already. You may have access to Project Online and the Project app in the Accelerator and may not know it. So just be aware that that's something you may already own, and these things can be extended. Now, in the last week, Microsoft has announced, if you look at the matrix of capabilities, where Plan 1 had a lot of view-only capabilities, they've now made it with the Plan 1 license that you can now be able to work with the entities fully within the Accelerator, meaning you get the access to the Power Apps capabilities that you need to do to interact with that solution with your Plan 1 license. So very exciting news and more accessibility across that. To follow on with the announcement by Microsoft that Project Plan 1 project schedules can be viewed by Microsoft 365 users on a read-only basis. So if you want to communicate plans to others in the organization. So once again, some more ubiquitous access to the data. Now, how are you going to get there? Now, a number of the people who use Microsoft Project today are using Project Online as the full online solution for managing projects and portfolios. So the question may be, what's next? Now, Project Online is here. It's what people are using today. But Microsoft is making this reimagining of Project into the Power Platform. Now, you could go to the Project for the Web and Power App solution with the Accelerator that we're talking about today. Now, Microsoft in Dynamics does have an offering called Project Operations that it launched. And it's a bit of a different animal. For traditional PPM folks that want to do the traditional project and portfolio management capabilities, Project for the Web and Power Apps begins to address that. Project Operations is there for organizations that have more, let's just say, needs in customer facing and chargeback situations where people have to capture time and do invoicing and a lot of those other things as part of the Dynamics platform. So it is an option for you if you fit that profile. But the folks who are doing more traditional, like say IT PPM and other traditional PPM Project for the Web and Power Apps may be a better fit. The pros are it's aligned with Microsoft's current vision in Power Apps. It's a flexible platform, as Paul was showing, addressing specific requirements. And it's a known license model for you because you may already own those licenses for this. The cons is that the Project for the Web and the Accelerator by itself doesn't have all the capabilities that you have in Project Online today, and will likely require investment in custom apps or third-party tools to do that right now, like a OnePlan. And the real assessment here is it's well aligned with Microsoft visions, but it's an ongoing thing, and Microsoft continues to add things to this mix. So it's where Microsoft is headed. Now, the better together is really about adding OnePlan to that Project for the Web and Power Apps. We're still aligned with the Microsoft vision. We provide a more complete PPM functionality that replaces not only the capabilities in Project Online, but adds things that Project Online did not have. And it also gives us the ability to not just use Project for the Web, but integrate Project Professional, Planner, Azure DevOps, and other scheduling tools into the mix. And it also integrates with Teams so that people can actually bring this and leverage and surface this within a Teams context as well. So once again, there are options that you have here, and these options are here today. We do have tooling. So we do have, Microsoft is, I believe, in the process of developing such, but if you wanted to make a move from Project Online to the Project Accelerator or Power App, we do have tools that can actually migrate data for you to make that transition. So we're happy to talk to you about that, as well as just in summarization. If you think about the Project Accelerator plus OnePlan equaling a modern solution that extends even beyond Project Online, just acknowledge that Microsoft is in the process of reimagining Project, and that includes Project Online, that the new Microsoft solution is built on the Power Platform, and that's where Microsoft is investing now. The Microsoft Project for the Web Accelerator is now readily available. We did build it in conjunction with Microsoft, and it's available for you online for your access to implement, and it's no charge to do that. But the new Microsoft Accelerator solution does not have the full feature parity with Project Online like I talked about, and that we can add OnePlan to get you the capabilities that you want. And OnePlan also provides you the connectors and other tools you might want for a full adaptive PPM so that you can use the tools that you need or the tools that you want. Also, as an organization, OnePlan Solutions provides you the solution, services, and support you're going to need for customer transition. So let us know how we can help, and we're here to help you to whatever degree that you want to be helped. So to get started today, we do have access. If you want some support on this, go through our app source to get the PPM Accelerator for the project for the web. It's free on app source. Microsoft has it up in GitHub, but if you would like some hand holding on this and some support on doing this, let us know and come here and just request it, and we'll be happy to guide you and chaperone you through this process. We also have the adaptive PPM components of OnePlan available as a free trial up on AppSource. So if you look for that on AppSource, you can get it, get yourself a free trial, and get hands-on on the OnePlan pieces to explore and see how you might like that and align it with how it might fit to the way you do business. We also have different flavors of the trial. So we have the adaptive portfolio management. We have a more agile portfolio management trial, as well as ones that are focused on the strategic portfolio management, as well as professional services automation. So be aware as you go into AppSource, you have different options on which trials you'd like to have. But what we showed you today really aligns with that adaptive project portfolio management. Now, if you're really interested in making a move, we do offer as an engagement a Microsoft migration workshop that really can get into the details of where you're at, where you'd like to be, and what it would take to get you migrated fully over into the new solutions from Microsoft and OnePlan. So this is a paid engagement. It really is a deep dive session to kind of roadmap this for you and take the mystery out of all aspects of what it's going to take for the migration. If you're not quite there yet, we're happy to do a more limited workshop to you to kind of get you an idea of where you're at, where you want to go, and what that means from a licensing perspective, and give you a general idea what it will take to get from point A to point B. So just be aware we do offer a free version of that if you're interested in kind of exploring this a little bit further. We do webinars like this all the time. Right now, we're working on scheduling the next webinar, but we do have at oneplan.ai/webinars a whole library of on-demand webinars of one we've done in the past, and look for ones that are upcoming. I think we're still going to be staying in the adaptive mode, maybe looking at more about how we connect to other solutions, maybe focusing on those users who want to bring in things like Azure DevOps and such. So keep an eye out for that if you want to get more detail on seeing how those things work. So from next steps, engage with us for a free trial of these solutions. A roadmap workshop is available to you at no charge. Like I said, a personalized one-on-one demo, if you want us to address your use cases more specifically or in more depth, please reach out and we're happy to schedule something with you. You can reach out to us at contact@oneplan.ai, and you can get more information about what you've seen here today at our website at oneplan.ai or at ppmaccelerator.com. So with that, I'd just like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy days. Hopefully you got some value out of what you saw today. And as I said, we would love to engage with you and talk about this further. You could also reach out to Paul or myself individually if you'd like to, and you can look for within the next 24 hours or so to get a link to this recording of this webinar as well as a copy of the slides. So with that, I'd like to say thank you and have a great day.